Every 4 seconds, somewhere in the UK, someone gets a parking ticket. In parts of the country, that can cost you £130, a pretty big dent on your finances for that week. Around 1 in 4 people put in some sort of challenge. Of them, 40% are successful, so it is worth trying. In this video, what we're going to do is take you through the stages of appealing a ticket, not just a council ticket, but also if you've been fined for overstaying your welcome on private land, such as a supermarket car park. Now, you can only make an appeal against a parking ticket on certain grounds. Now, the most common is that the contravention did not occur, i.e. that you weren't parked illegally, that the road markings were worn out, that the signs weren't there, and so on. Now, on every council website, they'll have details about the grounds upon which you can challenge. The thing to do is to look at the bay, the signs, and so on to see whether those were the areas where perhaps the information was not clear, was tampered with in some sort of way, so that therefore you weren't to know that you couldn't park there. The first thing you should do is whip out your mobile phone, take as many photographs as possible of the car, how it's parked, the road signs, the road markings, anything that may be obscuring, obstructing, or having tampered any of those markings, so you've got a bit of a case. Now, if, say, for example, you had fallen ill, well, go along to the doctors and get a doctor's note. All of these things will help further down the line when you're making your appeal. Your ticket will say that you've got 14 days to pay the fine if you want the lower rate. If you're going to appeal, make sure that you ask for this period of time to be frozen or suspended while you're making an appeal, so you don't have to pay the higher rate. Now, councils don't legally have to do that, but most of them do. You've put in your challenge to the council. They, in my experience, will come back fairly quickly, often within about 10 working days, to say whether they've accepted or rejected your challenge. It's also my experience that at this informal stage, you're nearly automatically rejected. Don't be put off by that. That is just the informal stage. You then move to the formal stage. Basically, you put across all the same information, all your same evidence to the council again, but this time the council have to look at it formally. At the end of that stage, which can be another couple of weeks or so, they will decide whether to accept or reject your complaint. If they reject you, then they'll send you the notice to owner, and at that stage you move on to the independent adjudicator. The good thing here is it's no longer the council deciding whether you are right or wrong. The councils are often judge and jury, so now you go to an independent adjudicator. Now, it sounds a bit scary, sounds like a court. It's not. You can do it all online or by post. There are different adjudicators for different parts of the country. There's 4 schemes around the country. There's one for England and Wales, there's one for Scotland, there's one for Northern Ireland, and there's a special one just for London, the Parking and Traffic Appeals Service. And there's more tickets issued in London than anywhere else, so they're one of the busiest ones. To present your case to the adjudicator, you've got 28 days to do so after you've been rejected by the council. Now, the adjudicator won't be sent anything by the council, so you've got to represent all of your evidence again. Each of these adjudicator websites do have evidence of the sort of things the adjudicator has ruled on in favour or against a driver. And look through those, because that can give you a pretty good idea of which way the adjudicator is likely to move on this, and what sort of arguments work with them and what arguments don't. Now, the good news is that private clamping is now finally illegal. So if you return to your car at the supermarket and there's a big yellow clamp on it, you can actually call the police. It's completely illegal to do so. It was back in October 2012 when it was banned. It was regarded as extortion. What you were finding was that some of these private clampers were charging you 300 or 400 quid to release your car, and it was extremely dodgy business. So I'm pretty pleased it's been banned. Despite the ban on clamping, private companies can still fine or charge you for staying on their land for too long or parking illegally. Now, it's a very controversial area. For example, recently we on Guardian Money wrote a story about a guy pulled up at a moto service station at Scotch Corner, had been on a long drive and wanted a quick snooze. He overstayed his 2-hour maximum by about half an hour. When he got home, a few weeks later, he sees a £90 fine. Now, if you do think you've been unfairly victimised by a private company with a parking ticket, the appeals process is fairly straightforward, very similar to the penalty charge notices issued by the councils. There's the informal challenge you make. They reject you, you make a formal challenge against them, they reject you again. You then can go to a new independent adjudication service. It's called POPLA, the Parking on Private Lands Appeals Service. They act very much like the independent adjudicators. They have to take an independent view of your case, and again, it's a simple accept or reject, and you won't have an appeal after that. Of course, the best thing to do is to avoid getting a ticket in the first place. There are quite a few websites and apps around now to help you along. Parkup.com works pretty well in London. Manchester's trialling a new app called the Parker app, which you can use on your smartphone. Now that will tell you when spaces become available on street and even direct you through your phone to how to find it. So that's pretty useful. I suppose the other thing is to look out for Britain's worst streets for parking on. Now it seems last year, the worst street in the entire country, strange enough not in central London, was actually in a suburb of West London. It was Chiswick High Road, on which there were 13,000 tickets issued. Outside of London, Alum Rock Road in Birmingham is really bad, and Chambers Street in Edinburgh is the worst in Scotland. So hey, just avoid those places.